Hey everyone, it's Mr. Burns here, and we're going to talk today about your Unit 2 vocabulary in the Unit 4 expenses of Westward expansion, which would be a short unit, another 2.5 week unit, just like we did with Reconstruction. You can see a couple images here that depict some of the key ideas of Westward expansion, Manifest Destiny, and Native American reservation lands. The directions are the same as they were the last time you did this. Okay, I'm going to give you a handout, and that handout's going to have the definitions written in. What you have to do for homework: first, you have to watch the video to get explanation, further explanation. Then you have to complete the your definition or example column, a simplified definition, an example, a sentence, a word or phrase to help you remember the term, synonym, something like that. And then in the visual picture column, you have a couple of options. You can go to insert image and you can search the web and find some images there, or you can do this in paper and color and upload it to Google Classroom, whichever you prefer, and then turn it in by the assigned due date, which was posted. All right, so there's only 8 words again, so let's go through the 8 words. The first one is going to be adaptation. And when we're talking about adaptation in Westward movement, we're talking about the new frontier. Not everyone, but a lot of American settlers are moving west. And as they're moving west, they're encountering a different geography, different land. They're encountering Native Americans. So they have to adapt to all these things. They have to figure out a way to travel west and get there. Once they get there, they have to figure out how they're going to settle and build homes and establish businesses and go forward with their new life. There's obviously new conflicts with Native Americans. There's going to be new jobs that arise, like being cattle farmers or ranchers, and figuring out a way to farm this really dry, arid climate. So all these things require the settlers to adapt or make adaptations. Remember, you can pause the video at any time. Assimilation is this idea that a group or a subgroup of in a country adapts to the culture of the dominant group, and you're going to see this with American Indians that there's some forced assimilation going on, mainly through these American Indian boarding schools that were often settled by Christian missionaries and subsidized by the government. And these went all the way up into the 1970s. This is going to be for over 100 years. So that's assimilation, where a subculture takes on the identity or the social habits of a dominating culture. All right, third word is going to be exodusters, and you kind of see the word exodus, and you kind of see the word dusters in there put together. Exodus meaning to leave or to become free, right? The exodus, the mass exodus, to leave. Dusters, thinking of like the Great Plains, so it's kind of that combination of these African Americans who are going to leave the Jim Crow South because of disenfranchisement with the way things are. They're going to leave and go to the West to try to settle land. There's going to be about 40,000 or so of these African Americans who are going to leave, mostly going to the Midwest, Kansas, Colorado, Oklahoma, that area. All right, the fourth word is nomadic. So a lot of people during this time become nomadic, trying to find the correct or the right, the great place for their family or themselves to establish roots. So they're moving around, searching for better opportunities. So that's nomadic. So you might hear that word throughout this unit. All right, the next one, perception. It's a way of understanding or interpreting something. You can look at this image and see the different perception there. But with perception here, we're looking at what's going to happen to the West. What is it like where we originally perceiving it as? It's this kind of land that we're unsure about. And with the idea of manifest destiny coming around, that we have the right to go from coast to coast, ocean to ocean, there's going to be some obstacles to overcome. But with new inventions like barbed wire and the steel plow and sod houses and cattle raising and ranching, some of these things are going to be overcome because they're going to be we have to have a new perception. We have to look at things differently and change our way of life. All right, let's go on to reservations. And this is where American Indians were kind of forced to settle by European Americans, the white culture. They were forced off their lands through conflicts, and they're actually legally under the law, they are part of the Department of the Interior, which is kind of like parkland, the part of the central government, federal government that deals with parkland. But they are really organized by a tribe and enforced by a tribal council, not the federal government having authority. And that's why you can see a lot of areas that Native American lands have like casinos, where other parts of the state maybe couldn't have casinos. And that's because the tribal land, not the federal government, has jurisdiction. Sodbusters. Sodbusters were these farmers that had to figure out a way to farm and figure out a way to build houses and such by breaking through this thick soil called sod in order to farm in the Great Plains in the Midwest. And then the last one is subsidies. And subsidies are basically money that is given by the government to maybe a business, an industry, it could be individuals, so that they can remain competitive. It's almost like a competitive balance. And you're going to see some subsidies here with the Homestead Act, which we're going to talk about this unit. The Homestead Act is where settlers were granted, as long as they applied and they were approved, they could get some land. If they agreed to move out west, they could get some land, and with that land, they could settle it and they could cultivate the land and farm. And it was a way to encourage westward movement, despite the fact that there was a great unknown of going west. Okay, I hope this helped. One more slide to go on to. And you'll notice that you're going to complete the 2 columns for homework on the right. The due date is posted. You can always rewatch this video as needed. We might post some things like Quizlet sets for you to review, and make sure you turn this in when you are finished. Bring any questions with you to class. Thank you.